Hi everyone, welcome to Anthony's Hobby Corner. I hope everyone's staying safe. On today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the steps that I've taken to build a static grass applicator. Now, I'm sure you've seen many commercially available products out there or commercially available static grass applicators out there, but they are quite pricey from that standpoint. So I figured let me see if I can actually build one myself using some available materials and get it done in a much more cost-effective manner. So how does a static grass applicator work? Well, the principle is that you create a high positive charge on the static grass itself, the mini polyfibers, and you create an opposing negative charge on the layout, such that when you then deposit these highly positively charged grass particles, they will align themselves such that vertically, such that only one end touches the negative part on the layout. In any case, that's the principle. It's worked very well, because you can see many commercial available products out there that do that for you. Well, in any case, what I decided to do was create my own static grass applicator. And so what I did was I went and purchased a simple negative ion generator, which is something like this, and it's basically available on eBay, etc., and I can put a link out there. And it simply creates very high voltage on the output end. On the input end, it basically takes standard 12 volts, and then on the output end, this particular negative ion generator can generate up to 20,000 volts on the output end. Now I think this one's set to around 17,000 volts, and these negative ion generator units are freely available on online sites, including eBay, and they go for about $20 odd, and so it's very cost effective. And so I purchased one of these, and what this will do is that you feed the negative wire, the output from the negative wire, over to your layout, where you plan to put your static grass. You put some glue there, obviously, and then this positive end is the one that charges the grass particles in the little chamber that you put the grass particles into. That's the principle that's being used out there as well. Alright, so what I've done is I've seen some people out there, they've used some plastic pipe to house their generator, and they've used like a Tupperware container or something to create a chamber for their static grass. But what I decided to do was to use an old flashlight. I found that these old incandescent flashlights to be not much use anymore, because everyone's using LED flashlights, and I have a ton of LED flashlights at home. So I took this old flashlight that I had, and this is the front part of the flashlight, as you can see, and I figured this really has the same shape that of a standard static grass applicator. So I figured, well, why not use a flashlight case, because it does two things. Well, one, it has a decent area in here to house the negative ion generator, right? It's about the same size. So because this one takes 2 D cells, the chamber is designed to take 2 D cells, but and it's plenty of room to house the negative ion generator. And secondly, flashlights have 2 switches. They have a stay on, push to stay on switch, and just a momentary push on switch as well. So the switches are already here. I can leverage them to turn this unit on and off as well, and I don't have to purchase a separate switch and install it. So there's already an integrated switch in a flashlight. So I figured, well, that's a second benefit. And thirdly, there's the front section here, which is an ideal area as a chamber to house your static grass. So what I did with the front here is I removed the bulb chamber and the reflector. As you can see here, there's no use for this anymore, so I put that aside. And here's the remaining open part of the chamber. And here's the back, the end of the inside of the flashlight. And you can see I've leveraged the switch that's already here. So what I did, I'll talk about the chamber first, and I'll talk about how I'm going to put the generator, the negative ion generator, inside the flashlight. So what I did was to create a chamber. Since I have a 3D printer, I created this little cup on a 3D printer. As you can see, I have a slight offset issue here on the cup, but it's no big deal. It's just cosmetic. Either way, I created this little cup with a tube built into it, and with a hole here. The intent is to pass the positive wire through this tube opening here. And as you can see, it's protected, so it's not exposed to all the fibers that will be in here. And this will then sit here on the corner. And I will then put a metal screen on top here that will then touch the positive terminal here. Now what I'm using here as a screen is a typical strainer, a food strainer, and I just cut off the part of the food strainer to use as the mesh. And I also printed a little kind of a washer type ring that goes on the outside that will go on like this and hold against the mesh. So the only unique parts that I've actually created for this project are really these two pieces here that I printed on a 3D printer to match the diameter of my chamber here. So the intent is to put this ring in here at the bottom, and I have a second one that's a slightly less diameter. So to create that little what do you call it, border or ring here to give some additional strength. Then I'm going to put the strainer mesh that I cut out in there, and then place the cup as such. And now you have a chamber here for your grass particles that you can then shake after and then drop them through. And this will be the mesh that gets charged with positive ions. And the negative ions from the negative wire goes onto the landscape that you're planning to put the grass onto. And of course then this section screws onto the back, which then controls the negative ion generator. So very simple. And just using up some household discarded items, you can actually build your own static grass applicator. So I'm going to leave this to the side for a second, and we'll talk about this part. So this negative ion generator runs on 12 volts. This is the one I happen to get from eBay. And I do have a spare 12 volt power supply here, and so I figured I'll use this one. And of course this one has a 2.1 millimeter power jack, male power jack, so I figured I will then mount a 2.1 millimeter female power jack on here, so I can feed power to this one. I've made a little insertion, a little hole at the bottom. This is where the negative wire with the negative ions will be coming out of this structure. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you like, you can actually put an LED indicator here with a resistor, so that it turns on, gives you a visual indicator that you turn the unit on. You can do that as additionally. I didn't bother putting LED. This is really more for functional than aesthetics, so I didn't bother putting an LED and a resistor, but that can be done as well. So now inside here, as you can see, I'm utilizing the switch that's currently on the flashlight. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the positive from the socket, positive wire, feeding it into the switch. From the switch, I'm taking the other end and feeding it to the negative ion generator's positive input terminal. And this way I'm controlling the positive of the generator through the switch. The negative wire from the power socket is brought out here, and that will connect directly to the negative input wire on the generator. And these two wires, obviously the output wires, the positive will go into the cup with the mesh, and the negative will be sent out through the hole here to be adhered to the landscape. Okay, and that's a simple scenario here. Okay, so let's insert the negative ion generator into this flashlight. As you can see, I've already soldered the positives. So, and this one barely fits in here. It's a snug fit. So bear with me as I manipulate this thing here. Okay, so I'm just going to push this inside the flashlight where your typical batteries are. There it goes, recessed right in there. Make sure the wires don't interfere with the switch. If it doesn't, so now I have a switch that can be depressed and left in the on position if I'm going to have prolonged use, or I have a switch that's momentary on that I can use on and off as well. Right, next, I'm going to wire up the two negatives of the input and solder them together. And then I'm also going to hook up the positive terminal onto the mesh. And then we'll take the negative, the output negative, which is going to have the negative ions, and I'm going to feed it through this little hole here that I've created for it. So it's going to go over to the layout. Okay, so I've done a few things here. I didn't want to shoot some footage on me doing the soldering because most people know how to solder. So what I've done here is I've just connected the negative wire from the socket over to the negative on the ion generator. So that's connected, good to go. The positive was already connected before, as noticed, through the switch. And now I have the negative ion output wire here, the thick one that's coming out through here now, and it's going to go out to I soldered it to an alligator clip, so I can now clip it onto anywhere on the layout landscape where I'm going to have the static grass and there's sufficient wire here for that as well. And I also soldered a mini piece of metal here onto the positive lead, and I'll explain to you what I'm planning to do here is that for the cup I'm going to so here's the ring that I also did with 3D printing. Here's the mesh. The cup's going to go like that inside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a screw, a tapered screw that's going to go through the hole here, and the front of the screw here will then touch against the metal mesh, and then transfer the electrical charge onto here. And of course I'm going to connect the positive lead onto the back of the screw here. Of course this goes in the front as a retainer to keep everything in place, and there's your chamber. This way I can just open it up, put the grass in here, and then screw it back on. This will spin, but this is going to stay permanent without moving. And of course back here I'm going to put the click through here, so the positive charge now can get sent across through this insulated section in through this to this top part of the screw, which will then connect with the mesh as it's put over here. So now let's just fix the put the nut here to hold the positive terminal, positive high voltage terminal in place. It's going to go like this. I made a little notch here for the screw to sit in place, so all this will stay, these two will stay fixed, and the mesh and the plate, the mesh and the outside retaining ring can actually move with the front cover of the flashlight as you screw it back on. Put this in place and then screw this on. Solid. Can pull the black lead in here. Now it's just a matter of tucking these wires back. There's the one stuck back in here. This one's tucked away. Now it's got. There we go. Open it up like that. And this goes on. That goes on like this. So I'm gonna put these in the flashlight here. Like so. Put the cup in here, like so. And now I can align this notch with the screw. And there you go. You have a homemade static grass dispenser. All that we have left now is to give it a shot. Got another one here that's 7mm I haven't used yet. Maybe we'll give this one a shot. Okay, so I put a little bit of static grass in here. I can show you what I just did. So you unscrew this out here. can see that I've got some static grass inside here. Not much, just a little bit in there. Maybe it's more visible from this angle. There you go. So I put some in there, and now basically just close the cover. And now this is nice and tight against the rim, and we're ready to get applying here. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here, and then we'll plug this thing in and take a look. Alright, so I zoomed in here. I got some glue. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here. Just a small little test area. Okay, and let's plug this thing in. Alright, so I've got it, as you can see, I've got it plugged in here to my 12-volt power supply, and I've got the negative now ready to put on to the foam here. You can put that in there, and there we go. Just hold the button down. Let me just use it on this side so I can cover the light. There's some on there. I didn't put too much on there. And you can see how they're all standing up. So I put some 7mm in here as well. Now 7mm grass. Let's see how that comes out. There you go. So the thing works pretty well. What I noticed was that this glue is a little too runny, so it's not holding it too much in place. Once it falls vertical, but I need to use a bit more tackier glue. But other than that, as you can see, it's working really well. So I put on a little bit more glue here, that's a bit more tackier, and let's see how it plays out. Wow, look at that. Look at that. Works out really well. And that's the effect I was looking for. And again, with a simple negative ion generator, and a flashlight case. Got yourself a really powerful static grass applicator. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you found this useful, please don't feel free to put some comments in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to respond. Thank you.